Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We'll be getting started in just a moment. My name's David Bobanek. I'm going to be helping Kathy Burnell to run today's webinar. And we'll remind everybody to please mute your microphones before we get the meeting started. I will be muting all microphones, and then I'll go over how we do the Q&A and how we have some interaction after the session. Thank you. So we'll be starting in about 2 minutes. Okay, welcome everybody. We're still see some people that are joining today's webinar. So we will be starting in about 1 minute. So sit tight for just a moment and then we'll get started with today's webinar. Okay, it's 5 o'clock, which means it's time to get started with our webinar. We're trying to be as respectful as we can of everybody's time. So I would like to welcome everybody. Good afternoon, Rotary District 5030 members, and welcome to today's inaugural webinar to kick off the 2020 Festival of Training. We're delighted that you could join us today and look forward to today's session. The Festival of Training is a new online pilot program that was developed to inform Rotarians in our district about everything we need to know for the upcoming Rotary year that's beginning on July 1st, 2020. I'd like to take a moment to congratulate District Trainer Jean Withers and her team, including District Governor Bill McElroy, District Governor-elect Kathy Gibson, District Governor nominee Howard Cohen, and others for their work in putting this concept together. A great deal of work has gone into the development of the program, and I really encourage you to thank Jean and her team for their work in putting this together for all of us. My name's David Bobanek. I'm providing tech support today and running the back room here. So I will be the one that will be keeping an eye on the chat box, as well as seeing when people raise their hands, and we'll have a Q&A box as well. Our talent today is Kathy Burnell. Kathy's a member of the Puget Sound Passport Club and has been an expert for our district with district grant opportunities for a number of years. So thank you, Kathy, for joining us, and let's get started. First of all, we'll be starting out all of our presentations with the vision of Rotary International. And many of you know this vision, many of you are familiar with it, but I think it's always great to do a level set of kind of reminder of why we're here. So together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. So I think most of you are already muted, but as a quick reminder for Zoom, during this session, we're going to ask you to make sure that your microphone icon is muted. So if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a hover, and you'll be able to click on the microphone to mute yourself. And please do stay muted throughout this presentation. We also have a chat box, so if you'd like to ask questions and make comments, click on the chat icon, and that will open up a webinar chat box where you can type in a question. I'll be keeping an eye on that, and I'll be sharing that those questions at the end of today's presentation for Kathy to answer. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kathy Brunell. Again, thanks everybody for joining us. And Kathy, the show is yours.
Thank you, David. And the question is always, you know, what are we doing in Rotary and what kind of change do you want to make in the world? So how do we start thinking about this? Rotary International has put before us the basic 6 areas of focus where they like to see the TRF funds be applied to. And that's promoting peace, fighting disease, clean water, saving mothers and children, promoting education, of course, growing local economies. So that can encompass an awful lot of things. So put your thinking caps on, talk to your members, think about what your club has been involved with, has had good success with, where you want to go, and consider partnering with other Rotary clubs, because this is how you can leverage your club's money and make a very impactful difference. Our District 5030 club contributions are matched by district funds up to $12,000 each year. Next slide. Okay, there's only one district grant per club per year. It is managed by the district, but these are funds that come to us from TRF. Our Rotary members all, or supposed to all, contribute to the TRF annual fund. And after 3 years, money comes back to the district for us to spend on grants. And this is the money that we use. It's your money, essentially. So it's important that your members do contribute. Projects that are district grant projects can be local or international. A district project is under $30,000, equal or less than 30,000 Rotary dollars. You can have other NGO partners or, you know, corporate contributors, that's fine. But Rotary money is 30,000 or less. Global grants are over 30,000. That's a whole nother webinar. District grant proposals are due September 15th. At that time, they're submitted to me. I take a look at them and make sure they're in alignment with the Rotary terms and conditions. Now, Rotary International has a lot of documentation. We end up looking at a short form of about 12 pages that we distribute to club members, but we're actually at about a 220-page document in all. So I do look at your proposals with an eye to, gee, are we doing what we're supposed to? And I may ask you to go back and forth and kind of refine some things before it gets turned over to a grant team. Money is available usually in November. So next slide. How do you qualify? Clubs are to sign the MOU with the district each year. It comes in the beginning of July to every club president, and we need those signed before any money can be distributed from our district grant fund out to the projects. And 55% of lead club memberships donate membership. If your club has at least 55% of your members donating to the Rotary Foundation annual fund for 2 years or more, your club will qualify for a 100% match of the money that you ask for. If it's less than 55%, then you qualify for 50% match. So it really behooves everyone to donate into the TRF annual fund. It breaks down as complicated as follows. This is on the website 5030grants.com. So you don't have to memorize it or I'll write it down here. It's just, we have a full breakdown and you can find it there. So next, examples. We have done projects. Our district has matched funds for transport vans, appliance repair, kitchen equipment, Teen Art Center, music labs, all kinds of things. Water, community rooms, language, so on and so forth. Think about what your club is involved with. See if it might work with a district match. Send me your proposal concept. Next, please. Although the proposals are due to be finished on or before September 15th, send me drafts, talk to me, call me up, we'll have a cup of coffee, or gosh, if we're still in quarantine, we can do it by phone. And we'll make sure it's right before the deadline. So you don't have to, try to find little bits and pieces to answer when it's too close to September 15th. Let's get this put together and make sure you're happy with it. The initial review will happen with me, and then I hand it over to the district grant team for evaluation. We have 10 members from across the district, and we arrange it so that each proposal is reviewed by 2 to 3 members who are not involved at all with your project. Can't be on your club, can't be a partner. They're, completely removed, so there's no, bias. We want to make sure everything is properly evaluated. We have an evaluation criteria, which can also be found on the website, 5030grants.com. We use a Gantt chart to score each proposal. And this is really important because when we have not as much money as we'd like to have to use, we have to distribute the funds that are available according to how strong each grant is. So the strongest grants were likely to be fully funded, whereas the ones that aren't as strong may not be as fully funded. So it's important to pay attention to the evaluation criteria and understand how things are scored. So you can write your proposal so it'll get the best review. Or next. This is a list of the evaluation criteria, and there is a page on our grant website that goes into the details of what each of these points mean. So I highly recommend you log on, look at the page, and read it thoroughly so you can write your proposals accordingly. Next. We also do Rotaract grants, and it comes from the same pool of funds that come back to our district from the TRF annual fund. And these are available to Rotaract clubs, where the Rotaract clubs are the leaders. They are for hands-on local community service projects, partnering with other Rotary clubs or other Rotaract clubs. The maximum available from the district per project is $4,000, and there are 2 years to complete the project. AG Express grants, quick, easy, and fun. We have done the fastest turnaround was about 4 days from an ask to a funding. So this is kind of important to know. It's a $500 per participating club per year. Must meet urgent local community need. It's a local Rotarian hands-on project. It has to have the AG's and the governor's approval. There is no deadline. But if the money runs out before the end of the year, then that's it. So get your projects together. And if you have partners, you can add to that $500, because you can say you have 6 clubs. You can put $3,000 towards a project that's a local urgent community need. Work together. One of the points of these grants is that we want the clubs to get to know each other, do things together that are meaningful to make change in the community. So think about it and go for it. Next, we have had a COVID-19 disaster response fund. And this disaster response fund grant has been $750 one-time grant from the district to clubs that apply. So think about what you might want to do. If you have something already going, there's money to match. And we have a possibility for clubs to contribute to a special grant to provide sustainable upgrades for hunger-related organizations in King and Snohomish counties. It's also $750 matched. Get details on our website, 503lgrants.com. So, again, please log on. Let's see, I think we have time for questions. We do have time for questions.
We do, and thank you very much, Kathy. That was terrific information. Thanks for getting on this webinar and sharing the information with us. And we will need to clean up a couple of the slides that we use at the beginning of this, the webinars from here on. But as a reminder, what you can do if you have a question is you can raise your hand, and there should be an icon in the bottom as you mouse over the bottom of your panel that allows you to raise your hand. If you do have a question and you'd like to ask it, go ahead and raise your hand and I will call on you, and then I can turn your microphone on for you. It looks like a couple of others, there are a couple of questions. So one of the questions is, will the slides be available for download? And yes, I believe we will be making those slides available. In addition to that, today's webinar is being recorded, and the webinar complete with Kathy's presentation will be available fairly soon. So couple of questions and a couple of nice compliments for Kathy always. But are the question from Judy Ginn for the panelists, we'll start out with that. Are the COVID grants a required match or a straight up grant to the club for a COVID project? Kathy?
That's a really good question, because I just got the slide and I haven't gotten the background on the COVID, but this is a Jeff Brennan organized program. And I would highly recommend that you contact Jeff directly, because I haven't gotten the details that you really need, and it's urgent. So,
okay.
Ag.
Thanks. And you can certainly find Jeff's contact information via DACDB or on the 5030 Grants website. And a quick question, is that a 5030grants.org or 5030grants.com? That was one of the questions.
I was told it was a grants.com. If it's different, you better tell me.
Okay. Well, if you don't get it by typing .com, try it by typing .org. Yeah, you got a 50-50 chance. So it is from Bill McElroy and Kathy Gibson. The $750 is a grant. There's no match needed. So that's the.
I thought. I just didn't want to speak out of line there.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a couple of folks that have put their hands up. That's all the questions that we have. We have on the chat. So let's go to a couple of questions that people can ask. It is, let's see, Sheila Hosner. Go ahead, you should be unmuted.
I'm not able to see any of the presenters. Are we supposed to be seeing presenters, or are we just looking at slides?
Just looking at slides. Some presenters may want to turn their cameras on, but Kathy and I talked about it, and the choice was to just keep our cameras off today.
Oh, okay. It's sort of discombobulating just to look at the slides and hear you. I'm sort of used to seeing people, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. So thank you.
Of course. Okay, Howard Cohen. Go ahead, Howard.
These COVID-19 grants, are they only for local projects, or can they be for international projects? And do they have to come from a specific club, or could a Rotarian apply for that?
It has to be from a club, and it is for local, because RI has made this type of thing available to other districts.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Howard. And then from the question and answer, quick item from Brett Tauscher. matching dollars. One bullet mentioned that matching percentage is based on 55% of club members contributing.
Mhm.
Then the next bullet gave a chart based on dollar amount and number of partner clubs. So
Yeah.
Brett's a little confused by that. So maybe you could walk through it and I can pull those
Sure.
slides up again.
Go back to that one.
All right. So here's the first one, and then we quickly showed the maximums after that. Would you like me to bring the next slide up?
Yep. So if 55% of your club membership or greater have contributed to the TRF annual fund, you qualify for 100% match. And if you look at the last $4 amounts, you qualify for 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, or 12,000, depending on how many partners you have. If your club has had fewer than 55% of its membership contribute to the TRF fund, the project would qualify for a 50% match. Is
Great.
that clear? Okay.
Thanks. So we've had a couple, there's one other person with a hand up, so I'll get to that in just a moment, but we did have from a couple of the folks in the chat box that it is 5030grants.com. So the confirmation is that it is a .com.
I'm glad
Thanks.
I did a typo.
Thanks for looking that up.
Yay.
And another question, due to the COVID-19 grant dollars come from the Rotary International fundraiser telethon on Facebook this last Saturday? Just curious.
No. There has been money moved around from what we have had available in our district grant fund. Some clubs agreed to postpone some of their projects and let the money that would have gone to them right now come to them later after November. And so we have quite a bit. Really, thank you very much to several of our clubs in our district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brenda, you've patiently virtually had your hand up for a while, so I'm going to unmute you, and then we've got a few more questions in the Q&A box. So Brenda first, and then we'll get to a couple of the written questions. Go ahead, Brenda. Brenda, if you'd like to ask your question, go ahead.
I'm muted.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yes, go ahead, Brenda.
Okay, thank you. You had indicated the $750 express grant. Because of the seriousness of the COVID-19, and perhaps it may extend itself a little longer, do you anticipate in the future to offer another $750 express grant?
We're not sure yet.
Okay.
Because the money was available that we could kind of switch around. So we were able to do this. And what's going to be available, in the fall, we don't know yet.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Like many things with COVID-19, there are many more questions and answers. And I think, John Scheller, that was a similar question that you had. So I'll skip yours. Raise your hand if you have a slightly different version of that question. Debbie Bodal has asked, so district grant match is different from the global grant match. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So Debbie, again, I thought that to qualify for a global grant match, there must be 100% participation for members of your club. Am I understanding that for district grant match, it's only 55%?
It's 55% of your club, or less than 55% of your club contributes to TRF. The club only qualifies for 50% match for district projects.
Okay, great. Let's see, we've got one other one. Mike Madden is asking, can Rotaract clubs count as partner clubs on district matching grants?
Yes.
Oh, your answers are so sharp and quick. This is terrific. All right, Ruth Ann Halford, I'm going to call on you. You have your hand up, so go ahead. Ruth Ann, if you're there, go ahead and ask your question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Is there a deadline for the COVID-19 and is it June or did I just imagine that?
It's June.
Okay.
Let's get it in as soon as you possibly
Okay.
can. Mhm.
Okay. I believe that's all the questions that have come in. I don't see any other hands up. Yeah, I think that's everything. I think we've covered everything. So last opportunity to ask a question in the Q&A or the chat. But seeing no more questions for Kathy, thank you all so much for participating this evening. Really appreciate taking the time to learn more about district grants, and really big virtual round of applause for Kathy and the terrific job that she and the district grants team have been doing. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you,
And
David.
yeah, we'll look forward to the next session in our Festival of Training.
Yay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.